The tracks weren't mine to follow anymore. I had ridden out at the gray turn of morning with 6 of my best behind me, sure that this time we would end the thing that had been bleeding my people for years. And there, at the edge of the drownwood, where the mist stood up off the black water like something breathing, someone had come before me. Someone had knelt in the mud at the exact place I meant to kneel, had read the same broken print I meant to read, and had risen and gone on into the trees while the mud was still soft in the hollow of the paw. I got down from my horse. My captain, Cor, put a hand to his blade and said nothing, because he had learned long ago not to speak when I went still like that. The print was wrong the way it was always wrong. Too broad for any wolf that had ever run my woods, the toes too long, the whole shape of it sunk deep as if the thing that made it weighed more than a living animal should. Beside it, small and neat, was the mark of a human boot. Whoever wore it had stood there without shaking. There was no scent of fear on the ground at all. In 15 years of hunting men and beasts, I had never once tracked a creature to its lair, and found that the person ahead of me had felt no fear. "A poacher," Cor said, "or a fool." "A poacher runs from the hollow," I said. "This one walked after it." We followed both trails, the beasts and the boots, deeper than any of my hunters liked to go. The drownwood is not a good place. The trees grow up out of standing water, roots like the bones of drowned hands, and the mist never fully lifts even at midday, so that a man can lose the sound of his own pack 20 paces off. My wolves do not like it. They keep to the high ground of the Greywolde, the dry ridges and the old stone halls, and they let the drownwood keep its silence. For years I had let it keep its silence too, and for years the hollow had come out of it in the dark of the moon to take a shepherd, a child gone too far after a lamb, a woman drawing water at the wrong hour, and had gone back in with them and left nothing to bury. I am not a king who leaves nothing to bury. We came on her at the water's edge where the mist thinned. She was crouched at the base of a dead tree with her back to us, and she did not turn when 8 of us came out of the fog behind her, though she must have heard us. A wolf king and his hunters do not move silently through wet ground, whatever the songs say. She only raised one hand, palm out, without looking, the way you tell a dog to hold. "Wait." Cor growled. Half my hunters had their hands on steel, and I meant to speak, to demand who she was and what right a stranger had in my woods, and the words did not come, because the wind shifted off the water and brought me her scent. I have no gentle way to tell you what happened in me. For as long as I had worn the crown, there had been a thing under my ribs that never rested, a low, endless pull, the hunt in the blood that every alpha carries, the part of me that is always straining toward the next threat, the next border, the next dark tree line where something might be waiting for my people. It does not sleep. It had not slept, truly, since my father died and put the weight of the Greywolde on me at 20. I had stopped noticing it the way you stop noticing your own pulse. Her scent reached me, and the hunt in my blood lay down. It went aground all at once, the whole straining engine of it, quiet as a hall after the fire has burned to coals. I stood in the mud of the drownwood with my hand half raised, and I could not remember what I had meant to say. The stillness of it was so complete it frightened me more than the hollow ever had. I did not understand it. I only knew that some part of me that had been running my entire life had, for no reason I could name, come home and sat down. "You'll want to be quiet now," she said, still without turning. It doubled back. "It's across the water watching. It likes to watch." "You are in the woods of the Greywolde," I said. My voice came out rougher than I meant. "Under the protection of its king. Turn and name yourself." She turned then and rose, and I saw her fully for the first time. She was not what I had braced for, not a poacher's hard face, not a mad hermit's stare. She was a tall woman, plainly dressed in leathers gone soft and dark with weather, a bow across her back and a long knife at her belt, and no armor at all, which meant either she was a fool or she had learned that armor did not matter with the thing we hunted. Her hair was pulled back rough. Her face was grave. That is the word that stayed with me, grave, a stillness in it like the surface of deep water, an old grief sitting in the set of her mouth, the way it sits in people who have carried it so long they have stopped fighting it and simply carry it. Her eyes went over my crown, my cloak, my wolves, and did not widen. She had looked at powerful men before, I thought, and had not found them equal to the thing she was afraid of. "Neve," she said, "I've come to kill the thing you can't." Kor's growl rose to a snarl. 3 of my hunters shifted their weight to spring. In my woods, spoken to like that, before my own men, any other stranger would have learned very quickly what it costs to insult the alpha king of the Greywolda. I lifted my hand, and my pack went still. I did not know that first morning why I spared her. I told myself it was the tracking, that a woman who could follow the hollow to the water's edge alone and stand there without fear was a woman I could use, and I would not throw away a weapon because it had a sharp tongue. That was true, and it was not the truth. The truth was under my ribs, in that terrible new quiet, and I was not ready to look at it. "How many times," I said, "have you found it?" Something in her face changed, a flicker, gone at once. It was the first thing I said that she had not expected. "You believe me," she said. I asked how many. 3 kingdoms, she said. "For years, I've found it 11 times, I've wounded it twice." She looked at the black water where the mist hung, and for a moment the grief in her face turned to something colder. "It always moves on before I can finish. It kills, and it moves, and it circles back years later where you don't expect it. It came here a season ago. I followed." "Why?" Kor demanded. "Why chase a thing across 4 years and 3 kingdoms? What is it to you, Huntress?" She looked at him, and then at me, and I watched her decide not to answer. "Because someone should," she said. "Now be quiet, it's still watching and it's learning your numbers." I brought her back to Viharn Keep, and my hall did not thank me for it. "You must understand what my pack is. The Greywolda is old, older than the songs, older than the stone we cut our halls from, and my people have kept to themselves and to their own for 100 generations. We do not love outsiders. We do not love humans, who to a wolf smell always faintly of prey. And here I came at dusk, up the causeway to my own gates, with a human woman riding at my side who had spoken to me like an equal in front of my hunters, and the word ran ahead of us the way word always does. By the time we reached the great hall it was full, and it was cold, and every face in it was turned to her. "A human," someone said, not quietly. "He's brought a human into the keep." "She smells of the drownwood," said another. "She smells of it." That last was true, and it was the thing that turned the hall against her fastest, that under the leather and the weather and the wood smoke, faint but there, she carried the scent of the hollow on her, the way you carry the scent of a thing you have lived too near for too long. To my wolves it was as good as an accusation. What sane creature smells of the beast that hunts us? What has she to do with it, that it should mark her so? I felt her go still at my side. Not afraid, I never once in all of it saw her afraid, but braced, the way you brace when you have walked into a cold room many times before and know exactly how cold it will be. "She hunts the hollow," I said, and my voice filled the hall and shut it. "She has hunted it across 3 kingdoms. She has wounded it, which is more than any wolf of the Greywolda can say, myself among them. She is my guest, and she is under my hand, and the next wolf who forgets it will answer to me." That quieted the mouths. It did not quiet the eyes. My people obeyed me, they always obeyed me, but obedience is not welcome, and I saw her mark the difference. She had eaten in cold halls before. Old Sab came to me that night in the low room behind the dais, where I keep the fire and the maps and the old things. He is the last of the keep's memory keepers, blind these 30 years, and he has kept the packs remembering since before my father was whelped. He found his way to the fire by the heat of it and sat, and he turned his ruined eyes toward the place where I stood. "You've brought the drownwood into your hall, boy," he said. "He is the only living creature who calls me boy. I can smell it on the wind through the door. That woman carries the old wound on her." "She carries the beast scent," I said. She's hunted it 4 years, of course she. Not the beast, Sab said. The wound. There's a difference, and my nose is older than yours. He was quiet a while, and the fire ticked. There's a thing the pack does not remember anymore, because I am the only one left who was told it, and I was told it as a warning never to speak. Do you know why the Hollow hunts us, Kale? Do you know what it wants? It wants meat, I said. It wants terror. It's a mad thing. It wants someone, Sab said. It has always wanted someone, and it has never yet found them. All these years, all these dead, those are the misses, boy. Those are the wrong doors it has knocked on. His blind face turned toward the door, toward the hall, toward where I had housed her. Ask yourself why, in 100 years of hunting, it has never once come as far as these gates. It could have. It's strong enough. Ask yourself what it's waiting to find first. I did not sleep that night. I stood at the arrow slit of my chamber and watched the mist lie on the drownwood far below, and I felt the quiet under my ribs where the hunt used to be, and I thought about the way she had smelled, not of the beast, Sab said, but of the wound. And I did not understand any of it, and I was a king, and I did not like not understanding. She was gone before dawn. I found her at the gate, saddling the horse I'd given her, and something in me that I did not examine closely moved fast and hard. You're leaving. Your pack wants me gone, she said, without stopping. I'll not sleep another night under a roof of wolves who dream about tearing my throat. I'll hunt it from the wood. I always have. And when it kills you in the wood alone, the way it's tried 11 times. She looked at me over the horse's back. In the gray light, her grave face was gentler than it had been in the hall, as if the hall had made her hard and the open air let her be what she was underneath. Then it kills me, she said simply. That's the wager. I made it a long time ago. Why? I said, and this time it was not a king's demand. I heard it come out of me almost as a plea, and I saw her hear it too. Neve, why you? Why alone? What did that thing take from you, that you'd give it 4 years and your life? For a long moment she said nothing, and the mist moved between us, and I thought she would not answer, and would ride out my gate and into the drownwood and die there, and I would spend the rest of my long life with that quiet under my ribs and no name for it. My mother, she said at last, and her mother, and hers back further than anyone kept count, it comes for us. It has always come for us. My grandmother taught me to run before she taught me to walk, and it found her anyway, in a village 3 kingdoms east when I was 9, and I hid in the rushes of a mill pond with the water to my lips, and I watched. She said it flatly, the way you say a thing you have said to yourself 10,000 times until it has no edges left to cut you. My mother got us out. She ran with me for 6 more years, and then it caught her scent at a winter market, and I ran and she didn't, so that one of us would live. Her jaw tightened, the only crack in her stillness. I'm the last king of the Greywolda. There's no one behind me. When I'm gone, it stops because there'll be no one left for it to want. That's my wager. I lose either way. I only get to choose whether I lose running or lose fighting. I stood in the gate of my own keep, and I could not speak. Because Sab's voice was in my head, it wants someone. It has always wanted someone. It has never yet found them, and I understood, all at once and far too late, why the Hollow had killed across my woods for years and never come to my gates. It had not been coming for my people at all. My shepherds, my children at the water, my woman drawing water at the wrong hour, those were not its hunt. Those were the wrong doors. It had been hunting through my kingdom, the way a hound quarters a field, casting for a scent, and it had killed what it found in its way and moved on, and it had circled and circled, patient as the grave, because the one it wanted was somewhere in the wide world still breathing. And now the one it wanted had ridden into my woods herself, on its trail, and it had crossed the water to watch her. Get down off the horse, I said. I'll not. Neve. I came toward her, and I do not know what was in my face, but she went still watching me come. You don't have to lose. Do you understand me? That wager you made, the terms are old and they're wrong. You've been playing a game where the only moves are run or die because you've been alone. You are not alone anymore. You don't know what you're offering, she said, and her voice had gone low. You don't know what I am. Then tell me, I said. Stay and tell me, and we hunted together, my pack and your knowledge, my strength and your knowing where it steps before it steps. Between us it doesn't move on this time. Between us it ends. And you don't die to make it end. I was close to her now, close enough to see that under the stillness she was very tired, tired down to the bone in a way 4 years of running will make a person. Stay. The hunt in my blood was quiet, quiet, quiet. She looked at me a long time. Your pack will never allow it, she said. My pack will do as I say. That's not the same as allowing. She almost smiled the first time, and it changed her whole grave face, and I felt it go through me like warmth through cold hands. You're a good king, I can see that. Good kings die of the things their packs won't allow. But she took her hand off the saddle. One hunt, she said. We try it your way once. If your wolves break, or if I feel it turning toward these gates, I ride and you don't stop me and you forget you ever saw me. Those are my terms. Those are your terms, I agreed. And I have never in my life agreed to anything I meant to keep less. We hunted it my way, and it was a disaster, and it was the making of everything. I put 12 of my strongest into the drownwood with us, in a wide half circle the way we drive deer, meaning to press the hollow against the deep water and hold it there while she and I closed. It was a good plan for a wolf. The hollow is not a wolf. She knew it would not work before we began. I saw her know it, saw her look at my careful half-circle and close her eyes for a breath as if praying to be wrong. She was not wrong. The hollow did not run before the drive. It went under it. It let my wolves pass over the place where it lay sunk in the black water with only its eyes above the surface. And it took Kor's youngest brother from behind, out of the water, so fast that the boy was gone into the mist before his howl finished. And then it was among us, and my careful circle was chaos in the fog. I have fought a great many things. I have never fought anything like the hollow. It is wrong to the eye, a wolf's shape, but stretched and starved and gray as a drowned thing, with too many joints and a face that is almost a wolf's face and almost a man's and is neither, and eyes that do not shine like an animal's but sit flat and dark and knowing. It moved through my scattered wolves like water through fingers. It was not trying to kill us. I understood that even in the middle of it, it was cutting through us to get to the one behind us. It wanted her, and we were only in the way. It came out of the mist at her, and she did not run. She had strung her bow, and she put 3 arrows into it in the time it takes to draw breath, all 3 in the flat dark eye of it, and it screamed a sound I still hear, a sound with too much grief in it for a beast, and it swerved, and I was there. I met it in the air, wolf to wolf, my full weight and the whole of the Greywilde's rage behind me, and we went down together into the black water in a knot of teeth. I am the Alpha King of the Greywilde. I have killed things that other kings send whole warbands to kill. The hollow held me under the water, and I could not break it. It was cold, not a living cold, a grave cold, and it was strong the way stone is strong, and it bore me down into the roots and the black, and I felt the old drowned floor of the drownwood under my back, and I thought, with a strange calm, so this is where it ends. And then it let me go. It let me go and came up out of the water, and I broke the surface after it, gasping, and I saw it standing over her. She had fallen. Her bow was gone. She was on her back in the shallows with the mist around her and the hollow above her, and it had stopped. That is the thing I will never forget. It had her at last, after 100 years and 3 kingdoms and all those wrong doors. It had the one it wanted, helpless in the water, and it stopped. It stood over her and lowered its ruined, not quite a wolf face down toward hers slowly, and it did not kill her. It looked at her. The flat dark eyes, one of them broken by her arrows, looked into her face, and something passed between them that I did not understand, and she looked back up at it, and she was not screaming. She was not even fighting. She was weeping silently, the tears running back into her hair. I know, she said to it, to the beast. I know, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I hit it from the side and tore it off her, and this time when it fled, I did not chase it. I gathered her up out of the water instead, into my arms, and she let me. And we knelt there in the ruin of my failed hunt with my dead and my scattered pack around us in the fog, and she wept into my shoulder, and I held her. And the hunt in my blood was so quiet, and I understood nothing at all except that I would burn the Greywolde to the waterline before I let that thing have her. Neve, I said, it stopped. It had you and it stopped. Why did it stop? Because it knows me, she said into my shoulder brokenly. It's always known me. That's the thing no one understands. It doesn't hate us. She pulled back and looked at me, and her grave face was wrecked and open and terrible. It grieves us, Kale, it's grieving. It's been grieving for 100 years, and it doesn't know how to stop. And killing is the only thing it has left that feels like reaching for us, and I'm the last one it can reach. I took her back to the low room behind the dais, to the fire and the old things, and I sent for Sab. He came slowly, tapping, and he lifted his blind, ruined face when he came through the door, and he stopped, and he breathed in, and something went out of him all at once, some long-held breath he might have been holding since my father's time. There you are, he said softly. There you are at last, 100 years, and you've come home to us. You know what I am, Neve said. She had gone still again, wrapped in one of my cloaks by the fire, but it was a different stillness now. Not the Huntress's braced stillness, but the stillness of someone about to hear the shape of her own life said aloud by a stranger. I know what your blood is, Sab said. He found the bench and sat and folded his old hands. I am the last who was told it, and I was told never to speak it, and I have kept that silence 60 years, and I am done keeping it. Sit, both of you. Kale, this is the pack's shame, and it is yours to hear, because you wear the crown that did it. And he told us. I will give it to you the way he gave it to us, in the low room with the fire ticking and the drownwood breathing far below. Long ago, when the Greywolde was young and the first kings held it, there were the wardens. They were human, moon-pledged humans, blessed by the old moon that my pack's wolves answered to, and their blessing was this. They could walk the drownwood, which even then was a wrong and hungry place, and they could keep its balance, could speak to what lived there, could hold the wood's old hunger asleep so that it did not rise and take the country. Wolf and warden were sworn to one another. The wolves held the high ground and the crown, the wardens held the wood and the moon's own peace, and each was sworn, blood and bone, to guard the other. So it stood for 100 generations. Until a king of my line, Sab would not name him, said the name had been struck from the pack's remembering as a punishment, which is the worst thing my people do to a memory, until a king of my line broke it. He wanted the wood. He wanted the drownwood cut and drained and made into fields and holdfasts, wanted the whole of the Greywolde under stone and plow, and the warden stood in his way, because to drain the wood was to wake its hunger, and they were sworn to keep it asleep. The warden of that age was a woman, and she was pledged to him, wolf king and warden woman, sworn to guard each other, as it had always been. And rather than break faith openly, rather than stand before his pack and his conscience and unsay the oath, he did a coward's murder. He took her into the drownwood under the peace of their pledge, to a place she trusted him, and he killed her there in the black water, and told his pack she had been taken by the wood, and he cut and drained as he pleased. But you cannot murder a moon-pledged warden under a false peace, and have the moon look away. Her death, unavenged, unowned, hidden under a lie, it did not go into the ground clean. It caught on one of the pack's own wolves, a wolf that had loved her, that had been at her side as guardian, and had not been there to guard her when she died. That wolf's grief and her wronged death twisted together in the waking hunger of the wood, and became a thing that was neither wolf nor warden nor beast, a hollow made of a broken oath. And the hollow thing did what grief with no way to speak does. It went looking for her. Down all the years, through all the generations, it hunted the only thread of her it could still catch, her blood, her daughters' daughters, the warden line that had scattered and run and hidden across kingdoms for 100 years, not knowing why the gray thing always found them, only knowing that it did. It isn't hunting to kill her, Sab said very gently to the fire. In its ruined way, it's hunting to find her. It's been trying to find her for 100 years. And every time it catches the scent of her blood in one of you, for one moment it thinks it's found her, and then it sees that you are not her, that she is still gone, that she is always gone, and the grief takes it and it kills and it goes on looking. He turned his blind face to Neve. You are the last of her line, child. You are the closest thing to her left in the world. That is why it stopped in the water. For one moment, looking at your face, it thought its 100 years of searching were over. The fire ticked. Neve sat very still, wrapped in my cloak, with the tears running silent down her grave face, and she did not wipe them. It can't be killed, she said. That's what I never understood. I put 12 arrows in it once in a canyon in the east. I've cut it half open. It doesn't die because it isn't alive. You can't kill grief with a knife. No, said Sab, you cannot. And he turned his ruined eyes toward me, and I felt the whole weight of my crown come down. But it can be laid to rest, Kale. A broken oath can be owned. A wrong death can be answered. That is the only thing that will ever let it stop, the pack that broke faith, owning that it broke faith, aloud before the moon and the wood and the last of her blood. Not a hunt, a reckoning. We did not hunt the hollow after that. I sat with her by the fire long into the night, and my pack slept, and I told her things I had never told anyone. What it was to carry the Greywolde alone since I was 20, the endless straining hunt under my ribs that never rested, and how it had gone quiet the moment the wind off the water first brought me her scent. I had not meant to tell her that last. It came out of me anyway. And she went still and looked at me, and I watched her understand it, because I think she had felt something of it too and had been as afraid of it as I was. The old bond, she said quietly, wolf and warden, sworn to guard each other blood and bone. She looked into the fire. They were fated, the old ones. Did you know that? Sab didn't say it, but I've read the fragments my grandmother saved. It wasn't only duty between wolf and warden. The moon paired them, a king to a keeper. That's what the pledge was, underneath the politics of it, a bond the moon made that a coward broke. She turned her grave face to me, and there was wonder in it, and fear, and something else I had no name for and wanted very badly to have a name for. That quiet you feel, that's not madness, King of the Greywolde. That's the moon remembering what your line forgot. I took her hand. She let me. It was the first gentle thing either of us had done that was only for the other and not for the hunt. I have been running my whole life, she said, so low I barely heard it, and I sat down in your woods and the running stopped. I thought it was because I'd finally found the thing to die on. I didn't know it was. She stopped. She could not finish it, and I did not make her. Stay, I said again, the same word. It meant everything now that it had not meant at the gate. There's still the reckoning, she said. I still have to face it. Sab said the pack must own the wrong before the moon and the wood and the last of her blood. I'm the last of her blood, Kale. Whatever ends this, I have to be standing in front of it when it ends. That's not going to be safe. It may not. You are not facing it alone, I said. Do you hear me? That was the old wager, run alone or die alone. Those were never the only moves. Whatever stands in front of that thing at the end, I stand in front of it with you. My line broke the oath. My mouth owns it. You will not carry my ancestors' crime to your death by yourself while I watch from the trees. I am done being a Greywolde king who watches from the trees. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she leaned into me, careful, the way you lean on something you are not yet sure will hold your weight. It held her weight. It always would. My pack did not want to give her the reckoning. I called them to the great hall the next dusk, all of them, every wolf of the Greywolde who could stand, and I told them the whole of it, the struck name and the murdered warden and the hollow thing our own shame had made, and I watched 100 years of comfortable forgetting break on their faces like a wave on stone. They did not want it. Of course they did not want it. It is a hard thing to be told that the beast that has bled your people for years is your own crime walking, that the wrong is yours, that the human woman you would not welcome at your fire is the last living wronged thread of an oath your fathers broke and lied about. It is easier to hate the huntress who smells of the beast than to own the beast. She smells of the drownwood, said an old wolf near the fire, the same accusation, worn to a groove. She brought the hollow to our gates. Send her away and it follows her away as it always has. It has followed her away 11 times, I said, and come back to us 11 times and killed our own 11 times over. It does not leave when she leaves. It only kills more slowly. I stood on the dais and I made my voice the voice that shuts the hall. For 100 years we have called it a beast because a beast is a thing we can hate without shame. It is not a beast. It is our broken word. And I will not let one more child of the Grey-Wilda die at the water because we would rather hate a human woman than say aloud what our fathers did. I let that sit. She goes into the drownwood tomorrow to end it, and I go with her, and the reckoning is owned in the mouth of your king before the moon. Any wolf with the courage to own an old shame may stand at my back. Any wolf who would rather keep hating her may stay behind these walls and be safe, and be silent, and never again call me king in the same breath as the word honor. It was Kor who moved first. Kor, whose youngest brother the Hollow had taken from behind out of the black water the day before. Kor, who had more reason than any wolf in that hall to hate the thing and everything that smelled of it. He crossed the hall to where Neve stood alone by the door in the cold place, and he stopped in front of her and I braced. And he went down on one knee to her, a war captain of the Grey-Wilda, to a human huntress, and he said roughly, "My brother died in that water yesterday. If your blood is the wrong my king's fathers did, then his death is on their shame and not on you, and I'll not hate you for a crime you were born under. I'll stand at your back tomorrow, warden. Someone of this pack owes your grandmothers 100 years of standing at their backs. Let it start with me." And she who had eaten in cold halls her whole life, who had been the thing that smelled of the beast in every village she ever ran through, who had never once in 4 years had a single soul offer to stand between her and the gray thing in the water. She put her hand on that rough war captain's bowed head, and she could not speak, and she nodded, and one by one the wolves of the Grey-Wilda rose and came across the cold floor to her, and the cold place by the door was not cold any more. I have been prouder of my pack since. I have never been prouder of them than that dusk. We went into the drownwood at the full of the moon, because Sab said the moon must see the reckoning, and the mist stood up off the black water silver in the moonlight, and it was the most beautiful and the most terrible place I have ever walked. She led us to the deep heart of the wood, to a place none of us had ever gone, a wide black pool ringed by the drowned stumps of trees older than the kingdom, where the water was still as glass and the mist hung close and the moon lay on the surface whole and unbroken. This was where it had happened, she said. She knew it the way you know a thing in your blood. This was where a king of my line had killed the warden he was sworn to guard, under a false peace in the black water 100 years ago. The wood remembered. Her blood remembered. She stood at the edge of the pool in the moonlight with the silver mist around her, and she had never looked less like a huntress, and more like something the moon had made. The hollow came up out of the water. It rose slow, streaming gray as a drowned thing, its broken eye and its whole eye fixed on her, and my wolves at my back snarled and pressed close, and I held them with a lifted hand. This was not a hunt. If we made it a hunt, we would fail, the way I had failed with my careful circle, because you cannot kill grief with teeth. This was a reckoning, and there was only one mouth in the world that could speak it, and it was mine. "Hold," I said to my pack, and I walked forward out of the ring of my wolves to the edge of the black pool, and I put myself between the hollow and the last of the blood it had hunted for 100 years, and I made myself, a living alpha king of the Grey-Wilda, stand in the exact place my ancestor had stood when he did his coward's murder, and I owned it. "I am Kale," I said, "Alpha King of the Grey-Wilda, of the line that broke faith with you." My voice went out across the still black water, and the mist and the moon heard it, and the wood heard it, and the gray thing rising heard it and went still. A king of my blood swore to guard your warden and murdered her instead in this water under a false peace, and lied to his pack and buried the truth so deep that we forgot we were the ones who made you. That was ours, not hers. I did not look away from the flat dark eyes. It is the hardest thing I have ever done, not looking away. The wrong is the Greywolder's. The lie is the Greywolder's. Your 100 years of searching are the Greywolder's shame, and I own them before the moon, before my pack, before the last of her line who is standing behind me, and I am sorry. Do you hear me? On behalf of every king of my blood who should have said it and did not, I am sorry. She has been avenged. The truth is spoken. The oath is owned. You can stop looking. You can rest. The hollow made the sound then. The grief sound, the one with too much sorrow in it for any beast, and it was terrible, and it came toward me across the water, and my pack surged, and I held them one last time with everything I had, because this was the moment, this was the whole of it, and if I flinched now 100 more years of dying began again. I did not flinch. It came up out of the black pool, and it stood over me the way it had stood over her, and it lowered its ruined, not quite a face down to mine, and the flat dark eyes looked into me, and I looked back, and I did not look away, and I did not raise a hand against it. And behind me, I heard her move. Cale, Neve's voice quiet and certain. Let me. She came up beside me, the last of the warden blood, in the moonlight at the edge of the water where her grandmother had died, and she did the thing that no amount of my strength or my pack's teeth could ever have done. She was not afraid, and she was not fighting, and she did not run. She reached up slowly, and she laid her hand on the gray, ruined face of the thing that had hunted her line for 100 years, the thing that had killed her mother and her grandmother and would have killed her 11 times over. And she said, gently, the way you speak to something wounded, the way a warden speaks to the old hunger of the wood. I'm here. I know you've been looking for her. I know. She was my blood, and I carry her, and I'm here, and I've come to tell you that you can stop. She isn't lost anymore. The wolf that loved her, that's you, isn't it? You never left her side but the one time it mattered, and you've never forgiven yourself, and you've spent 100 years trying to reach her through us. The tears ran down her grave face, silver in the moonlight, and her voice did not shake. She wouldn't want this. A warden's whole blessing is to hold the hunger asleep, to keep the wood at peace. You're the last of her hunger left awake. Let me do what she'd do. Let me put you to sleep. Let me give you rest. You've earned your rest. Let go. And the hollow, the gray, ruined, hollow thing our shame had made, shuddered under her hand, and made the grief sound one last time, and it was softer, and it was almost, at the very end, almost a wolf's sound, the low sound a wolf makes when it comes home and lies down at last by the fire it has been away from too long. And it sank. It went down slow under her hand into the black water, streaming silver, its flat dark eyes on her grave, gentle face until the water closed over them, and the mist eased, and the moon lay whole and unbroken on the still surface of the pool, and it was gone. Not killed, laid to rest. There is all the difference in the world. The wood let out a breath. I felt it. Every wolf of the Greywolder felt it, the old hunger of the drownwood, awake and straining for 100 years, easing back down into its long sleep now that the oath was owned, and the warden's blood stood keeping the peace again where it belonged. The mist thinned. Somewhere far off, for the first time in any of our lives, a bird sang in the drownwood in the dark. She turned from the water, and she was weeping, and she was smiling, and she came into my arms, and I held the last warden of the Greywolder in the moonlight at the edge of the black pool, while my whole pack stood silent behind us with their heads bowed, not in the fear they'd shown her, not in the hate, but in the way wolves bow to something the moon has marked. And the hunt in my blood was quiet, and it was not the terrible quiet of that first morning that I did not understand. It was the quiet of a thing that has come home and lain down and knows, now, why. I made her my Luna at the turn of the season, and the pack that had called her the human, the thing that smells of the beast, stood in the great hall of Viharn Keep and bowed to her as their warden queen, and the old cold place by the door was warm, and Kor stood at her right hand as her sworn shield, for his brother's sake, and for the 100 years his pack owed her grandmothers. We did not have a grand vow. She would not have suffered a grand vow. She was a huntress still, grave and quiet, made uneasy by too much ceremony. What we had was small, and it was ours. On the night the moon came full again, I took her back into the drownwood, which was a gentle place now, only a wood, the mist thin and the water clear and the old hunger sleeping sound, and I walked her to the black pool where it had ended, and I told her the thing I had not told her yet, the thing I had been carrying since the first gray morning at the water's edge. All my life, I said, there was a hunt under my ribs that never rested. I told you that. I told you it went quiet when I first caught your scent. The moon was on the water. She was listening, grave and still, in the way I had come to love more than any other thing in the world. I didn't tell you the rest. The rest is that I thought that hunt was who I was. I thought a Greywolde king was a thing that never rested, that always strained toward the next dark tree line, that could never sit down. I thought if it ever went quiet it would mean I'd stop being a king. And then you rode into my woods and it went quiet, and I found out that all those years I hadn't been a king who couldn't rest. I'd been a wolf who'd never once been shown what he was hunting for. She came into my arms, at the edge of the water, under the whole moon. I found it, I told her. That's what the quiet is. My whole line ran itself ragged for 100 years because we broke the thing we were made to come home to, and I'm the one who got to come home. I put my mouth to her hair. You spent your life running from a grief in the water. I spent mine straining toward an empty tree line, and we sat down in the same wood on the same gray morning, and neither of us has to run or strain ever again. That's the whole of my vow, Neve. Not that I'll burn the world for you, though I would. Only this, with you the hunt lies down. It will lie down every day of my life. There is nowhere left in the world I need to get to. You are the place I was going. She did not say anything grand back. She was not a woman for grand things. She only took my face in her 2 hunters' hands, the hands that had put 3 arrows into the flat dark eye of 100-year grief without shaking, and held it, and looked at me the way the moon looks at still water and said, "Then stop going." You're here. And I stopped, and I was, and the old wood was quiet all around us, and somewhere in it a bird was singing in the dark.